Hello everybody and welcome to Fat Guy Productions. I am Paul and I am back up at my modeling area with a special project today. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It should look really amazing and I think you're going to like it. Really simple, really affordable. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to make a display base for, I don't know if you can see it over here, for my X1. That's the Edward Bell X1. It's the aircraft that Chuck Yeager broke the sound barrier in. And it came out great. I loved the kit. I loved the build, but it needs something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a simple tarmac base for the aircraft to sit on. All right? This is a simple process. I think you guys will enjoy it, and it's up to your imagination how far you use this. You can do it for a lot of different aircraft models. We're going to do a really simple, small version. Okay? So with no further ado, let's go ahead and get right to it. And the heart of this project is going to be this simple frame. This is a shadow box that I got at Hobby Lobby. This is a 8x10 shadow box. And all I'm going to really be using from this is the frame part itself. All the rest is going to get tossed aside, and it's going to make a fantastic little display. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and get right to it. I'll begin with this shadow box I got at Hobby Lobby. I'm going to take the back off, take out the spacer and the glass, and just use the frame. Keep the spacer and take it apart. It makes a great screed for later on in this process. Now I'll use this high-density foam board that I got at Home Depot. I'll lay the glass on top of it to get a measurement, and then I'll cut it out using a sharp razor knife. Like a glove? Yeah, a little Ace Ventura for you. Okay, now I'll bust out the hot glue gun and thoroughly hot glue the foam board into the frame to make sure it doesn't come out.
I can now set this aside while I mix up the plaster. I use Perfect Plaster that I got at Hobby Lobby. It comes in this giant 8-pound bag and is really good stuff. I'll mix up about 3 or 4 cups according to the directions, using the plaster mix and water. Now I'm going to dump in some plain old beach sand my wife brought back from Florida. Next up, a little charcoal Ceramicoat acrylic paint for color. Don't overdo it with the paint. You're mixing the dark gray with the white of the plaster, and the goal is to get a concrete color. Now I'll add the appropriate amount of water and begin to stir. Here I can see I clearly don't have enough water, so I'll just add a little bit more. Stirring for the camera is way harder than it looks, and sometimes you pay the price. Great.
That's what I get for trying to
Now I've got a big mess to clean up.
stir on camera. Make a big mess.
After a thorough mixing, I felt it was just a bit too wet, so I hit it with just a little more plaster mix. Ultimately, I'm looking for a cement-type consistency. Alright, my concoction is ready. Now I have to go back in time and do something I should have done earlier, which is tape off the edges of the frame. I want to keep them as clean as possible, and I want to get a nice crisp line between the plaster mix and the frame itself. So I'll go ahead and I'll run tape around all of this to make sure it stays nice. I don't know if any of you out there watching this can cook, but if you can, this will be sort of familiar, like filling a baking sheet with dough or what have you. We're going to plop it all in here, smooth it around, pat it down, try and get any air bubbles out, and get it kind of as smooth as possible to begin with. Remember I said to keep the spacers? They made a great screed? Well, here you go. Just like doing real concrete, you run a board, zigzagging it back and forth. I saw that I had a low spot, so I decided to kind of fill it in and start over again. Just take the screed, keep it flush to the sides, jiggle it back and forth and draw it towards you, and you're going to get a nice, flat, concrete-looking surface. I saw one spot where I had some unblended plaster powder, so I decided to go ahead and give it one more screed to see if that would take care of the problem. And it did. And it gave me a really nice finish. And that is all of the messy business, except for a little bit of the cleanup. While it's still wet, I'll pull the tape away. Very carefully, give myself a nice clean edge. Throw that mess away. Go all the way around. We're going to have a nice clean edge. And then do a little cleanup on the frame because some of this stuff gets everywhere and there's no getting around that. Using your finger and or some wet paper towels, you can wipe everything down a little bit, give it a good cleanup. No need to worry about it too much. This will clean up pretty easily after everything is dried. And there she is. We'll just let her sit for about 30 minutes before we go on to the next step. See you in about 30 minutes. Well, through the magic of video, it's been 30 minutes, and I'm back. I've got a nice firm surface, and I decided that I would put the seams in my tarmac slightly at an angle just for some visual difference. So I just lay the ruler down, and with a retractable X-Acto knife, I'll run it along the ruler, do it a couple times, and give myself a nice seam in the asphalt. I'll measure out for all the rest of the seams and follow the same procedure. Here I'm going to go at 3 inches. So I'll line everything up, make a little tick mark. I'll make a second one, line up the knife, and make another seam. I'm going to be making squares in my tarmac that are roughly 3 inches by 4 inches. You'll have to figure out what scale will work best for the model that you're doing. Because this is a relatively small aircraft at 1/48th scale, I'm going to just use the score marks that I put in with the X-Acto knife as the seams and do nothing else to them. If I wanted bigger seams, I could run a toothpick or a skewer through the grooves that I cut to widen them up a little bit and make them a little more prominent. But for my model, I won't be needing to do that, and so I'll be skipping that today. Now I want to make sure that the cross lines are at 90 degrees to the other ones. I could go down to the garage and root around and find a square, but instead I'm just going to grab a CD case. After all, I know it's squared up. I'll just line it up against the one line, butt my ruler up against it, and then make my score. Why do things the hard way when you can do it the easy way? Now tell me that doesn't look like tarmac. Clean tarmac, yes, but tarmac nonetheless. I felt the grains of sand were sticking out a little too prominently, so I just took a little sandpaper and smoothed everything down a little bit. After the sanding, I took a wet paper towel and just kind of smoothed everything out. Remember, for the most part, this is plaster, so the wet paper towel is going to help make the surface a lot smoother and softer. And then just give it a good wipe down with the dry side. Get rid of any little hairs or fuzz from the paper towel. And I'm pretty much done except for the weathering. Believe it or not, even weathering can be out of scale. If it's too dark and too prominent, it will look out of place. This is actually my second attempt at making this base, and I went too strong with the weathering. Too dark of colors, too much, and it really looked odd. So I decided to really back off. I made an entire new base, and here I'm just sprinkling on some of my dirty paintbrush water that I use to clean my paintbrushes. I'll dab a little bit along some of the seams, make some stains in some areas, but keeping it really simple, really mild, really mute. If you put too much weathering or go too dark, it's going to stand out like a sore thumb and just not look right. Be very, very discriminate in how you do this. Now a wet paper towel to do a quick wipe down of the frame, get rid of any of the dust or plaster, and I am done. All I need to do is put my X1 on top of this. And there she is, the finished product. I could, of course, throw some ground service units down here or some people, anything like that, but this is just a simple base for this model, and that's about all I think I'm going to do. Voila. Fini.
All right, there you have it. That is my very, very simple, quick build of a diorama base for my 1/48 scale model aircraft. It's just a simple tarmac scene, and it was really easy to do, super affordable, super fast, start to finish, including drying times. Less than 2 hours total. And half of that was sitting around watching Gunsmoke on TV downstairs because I was waiting for it to dry up a little bit. But anyhow, so that is my tarmac. You know, take this, twist it, apply it to anything that you want, make it any size you want. I think that you can really run with this, and I gotta be honest with you, it looks fantastic. Way better than just having my airplane sitting on the desk. So I'm super pleased with it. It comes with a built-in frame. It looks fantastic. I am super happy about it. All right, so anyhow, that's going to be it for today. This has been Paul from Fat Guy Productions. If you liked the video, please click subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and until next time, be good.